Hello guys, welcome to the RPDL PearlDivision power rankings this time. I am going to be joined by Julien once again. Say hello.
Hi.
Hello. Yeah, so we got together again after doing the Platinum ones. It's going to be the same rules as last time. We're going to be rating each team from on a scale of 1 through 10. We're going to be talking about the good and bad things, different utility type cores, Pokemon cores in general. So with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and get started with the Dallas Dragonites, coached by Arc Gaming. This is another third season returning coach. He's progressively been doing better with each season, and as you can see, he's got an extremely strong draft. This team's insane in my opinion. Magirna as round one pick of wait, this wasn't. Yeah, this was another round one pick, correct?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
round one. Yeah,
Um,
I like that we're already starting off with one of the like two or three
yeah,
best teams. It's
yeah.
absurd.
This team's super strong. Probably the best draft I've seen Arc do on his own in general. But yeah, Magirna paired with Yveltal super strong as far as typing go. Urshifu, having Dark Aura boosted Wicked Blows could be insane. Amoonguss for redirection. Rotom Wash is very solid. Porygon Z is kind of a nuke. It just hits really hard with stab normal type moves. Talonflame, one of the better Tailwind setters of the draft format. Bronzong, in my opinion, is honestly an super strong Trick Room setter, but it can be used for a lot of other things other than just Trick Room, because he also has Slowking there that can potentially set Trick Room instead. Lantern there for two different immunities, and then again Litten it's an okay like one pointer for Intimidate. Um, yeah, so like, what are your first thoughts when you look at this?
I do not want to play that at all ever in my life. It looks horrible.
Yeah, I do want to
I
point
hate
out,
the team.
with Bronzong specifically, I guess with Rotom too, he has between Rotom, Talonflame, and Bronzong, he has 3 ground immunities. And then Yveltal as well, so he has 4 to pair with Magirna. So that kind of nullifies that, but he can also opt to run Heatproof Bronzong instead, so that also kind of gives like a fire resist with like Ally Switch. Um, so the Magirna has so much support here. He has a fast Tailwind. He can also run Tailwind Yveltal if he chose to. He has the Trick Room option and a pretty. You can run Rotom in Trick Room with like a slower set if you're facing a really fast team. Amoonguss. I mean, this team just has so many modes in it. Yeah, it just seems really difficult to prep for. He has so many different sweepers, so you could. I don't know. Like you said, I definitely wouldn't want to face this team myself. The speed tiers. I mean, Talonflame's the only thing above 126, but I think Talonflame is one of the more consistent Tailwind users. Like, you basically turn one, you can just bring Protect for any possible fake outs. Your opponent would have to have more than one fake out user, and they'd have to recycle them. That way, they had a fake out turn 2 against you. But most of the time, you're not going to break your Gale Wings, unless maybe Sand gets set up by like a max Rockfall or something. But even then, at 126 base speed, you're still going to outspeed most things, especially in a draft format. So yeah, I think Tailwind's almost always going to be up in most cases, and that's going to give him the clear advantage over a lot of teams. And type weaknesses. I mean, if you look at the type chart, Rock is his only big weakness. Most of it, he has more resist than weaknesses for almost every type.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, but as you mentioned, that's the only thing I don't like about the team. That there's only one Pokemon above base 100 speed.
Yeah, but I think.
It's good that it's Talonflame to make the others fast, but
Mhm.
yeah, that's the one thing I'm not a
But
huge
yeah,
fan of.
I think right off the bat, I think this is a 9.5.
Easily, yeah.
If it had more like base 100 speed or higher to keep it more diversified, it might even land a 10. But yeah, this team is.
Yeah, personally, I'm not a huge fan of Porygon, so if that was something faster
Yeah,
also,
I'm not too
that could
keen
be
on
great.
Porygon myself, but like I said, I know it can do massive damage, especially with like not
Definitely.
even just Life Orb. If you want to save your Life Orb for another slot on your team, just run Silk Scarf, and it almost does just as much most of the time. But yes,
Also, what I just realized, we unfortunately forgot to mention when speaking about Gumi's team, I'm a huge fan of Slowking as a Trick Room setter, just because it has... Oh no, wait. Am I confusing Slowking and Slowbro?
for
Oh,
which one?
what's the ability where you can taunt it? I forgot what it's called. Is it own tempo or is it something else? Wait.
I'm not.
Sorry, I think I confused something.
I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, that's not on tempo. Okay, it's slow bro then probably. What is it called? Yeah, sorry for destroying this recording. Oblivious, that's what I remembered. Yeah, it's just slow
that.
bro, not slow king. I
Gotcha.
confused those because I think that's one of the greatest trick room setters with Oblivious.
Gotcha.
But yeah, he has slow king, not slow bro.
Yeah, I think slow king can still put in work, especially just like Bronze Long. They're both 10-pointers, which is it's pretty solid, really.
I think it's a really strong Pokemon. Like I faced it on ladder like twice, and it utterly destroyed me.
Yeah, and I think with especially with how bulky Slow King specifically is, with Regenerator, it can be honestly pretty annoying to deal with. So yeah, all around phenomenal draft. I wish anyone.
Yeah, I just realized I'm kind of missing physical threats. Like he has Urshifu, Eviltal. I mean, you could run Eviltal physically, but it doesn't have the biggest move pool, especially not a really strong flying move. I'm kind of missing that because then Curious Medicine gets more valuable to reset Intimidates or something.
Yeah, I mean that is still true, but I still even think aside from that, I mean, I think his team, even just specially, it packs such a punch and so much damage that you honestly don't even like facing bulky special defensive Pokemon. What's your special attackers honestly shouldn't matter too much.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, phenomenal draft. Moving on though, Mariah with the Warren Central Zamazentas. Of course, leading off with Zamazenta, and very similar team honestly to which one of the platinum teams? I think it was Wakeman.
It was Wakeman, Wakeman.
Very kind of small similar cores, but yeah, Zamazenta and Victini, very good pairing like we said before. Grimmsnarl, phenomenal draft support. Porygon 2 is a staple trick room setter. Dracovish, it packs a punch on its own. Fishious Wren just does so much. Tornadus, another good prankster tailwind setter. Mudsdale, Raikou, they kind of have their place on the team. Fungus is a low tier redirection. Glalie and Lunatone are really the only two Pokemon that like Lunatone's okay, especially with Levitate, and like for setting Trick Room, but I think Porygon fits that role better. Glalie can be it can be a sweeper in Dynamax. It does get a pretty decent move pool. And Inner Focus, especially, a lot of people don't remember that it has Inner Focus, and so you can actually run like this choice band explosion sets or something, or self-destruct, whichever one it gets. But I think the only thing that Mariah has over Arc, in my opinion, are the speed tiers. You see,
they're great.
Yeah, I think the speed tiers are phenomenal on this team. And this is it's another one that's gonna be extremely difficult to prep with, in my opinion. I just think that this team, I almost want to say it's like the opposite is Arcs. Like this one seems like it lacks special offense, if that makes sense. Like Zamazenta, Victini, even Grimmsnarl is a little more physical. Dracovish, they're all physical sweepers. Now knowing me, Dracovish, you can run Meteor Beam, okay, and so you can actually.
That's what the Lunaton is for.
So yeah, but Dracovish, you can run Meteor Beam Dracovish, and then you can Dynamax it and set like your own Sand. So you could run Sand Rush potentially, which I think is hilarious. I don't think Mariah will do it, but I really if it was me in this situation. But yeah, super strong team again. A little more weaknesses than Arcs if we were comparing the two side by side. But I think she's covered a lot of ground. This is another coach that's made a tremendous jump forward, in my opinion, as far as like skill level and play style. She's definitely gotten better from last season to now. I think I would put this one at a 9. I think because these Pokemon are a little more staple-ish, that people know what to expect from some of them.
I think I like her team as much as Ark's team, just because she also has the speed. And such great support with Grimmsnarl and Zamazenta. Even they work well with each other too.
Yeah, they do balance out.
Like you said. Sorry.
No, you
You
go ahead.
said that they all just have a lot of attack and not a lot of special attack, but she's still safe from Intimidate with own tempo in her focus Mudsdale, with
Hmm.
Defiant Tornadoes, even
Yeah.
Break within her focus if she wants to use that physical in some
Hmm.
way. So even if she's very physical, she has that going for her.
Yeah, I think the only thing that could potentially hinder her a lot would just be like an opposing Will-O-Wisp. I think a strong, like, let's say if you were to put Arc versus Mariah, like Talonflame specifically, but obviously I'm not going to rate her based off that matchup, but I'm just saying,
Yeah,
like, any Will-O-Wisp user can kind of hinder her physical threats if she's not careful enough, or like
yeah,
doesn't
that's
utilize
true.
her redirection. But yeah, I can agree with you and put a 9.5. I mean, this team's also very very strong. Um, yeah, so we started off right out the gate with some of the stronger teams, and it's yeah, Pro's got some scary drafts, even as the lowest division, quote unquote. Yeah, moving on, we have Dylan with the Royal Kingdras. This team now is kind of the not the opposite of what we've been seeing because it does have like Kingdra, which can be fast if with rain. But you can see a more like trick room oriented kind of build here. Um, Melmetal extremely strong, not the Gmax form. So if this one
The
does,
only division with the normal metal.
yeah, yeah. So if this one does Dynamax, it's always max Steel Spike, which that's okay in most cases. Dialga, actually really interesting restricted. There's a lot of things it could do as far as move coverage. It could be a trick room setter potentially. You could do choice specs. You could make it slower to like utilize trick room. He has the famous Indeedee Hatterene, and it's the Gmax Hatterene as well. So Gmax Smite is such an annoying move to face. Magic Bounce is extremely strong. Can't be taunted, and so pairing with a DD, it's like near impossible to stop the Trick Room unless you have Imprison or you override the terrain to fake it out. Kingdra is a good Pokemon, but he doesn't have a rain setter, so like I think basically you're looking to set rain with like a max geyser, um, which is it's an interesting decision, but I think it could work.
He
So
can Prankster with Purloin set terrain.
yeah, I ain't even gotten that far. But yeah, so
Yeah, I
that's
just wanted
okay.
to mention it because otherwise we would forget it later again,
Yeah,
probably.
so that is very valid, and Purloin is a really good support Pokemon for 5 points. I think it's got a lot of
We
usage
had
as
it on
well.
1 point last season, and yeah, that was a steal getting
Yeah.
the so.
Salamence is a really cool Pokemon. It's kind of like Crocodile. Like it has the Intimidate Moxie. I just think the 4 times Ice weakness is what hinders it a lot. I think with Gen 8, there's so many Pokemon that have like Ice coverage now that it makes it hard to sweep with. And Salamence, unfortunately, it's not the most bulky Pokemon. Like base 80 defense and special defense, it kind of it can die in a lot of cases where you would want it to live. Unfortunately, Hitmontop's again a really good support intimidate Pokemon with coaching and whatnot. Raquin is actually a really cool Pokemon as well. Um, Galvantula is kind of a cool support with like Electro Web and stuff. Base 108 speed's pretty. It's decently fast. And then we have Rapidash again. I think the biggest thing that's kind of like concerning me with this team is the amount of Dragon types. I don't think 3 was like really needed. I think Dylan's mostly benefiting from their secondary typings with like the Steel on Dialga, Water on Kingdra, and the Flying on the Salamence. Um,
This is probably one of the teams that fits Salamence the best, as there's not a single other ice weakness and also
yeah,
3 resistances. Like, so it's not the worst. It fits pretty well.
yeah. But other than that, this team has a massive ground weakness as well with like Melmetal, Dialga, um,
Yeah.
Rapidash, Galvantula. But I mean, I don't know. Overall, I guess Fairy weakness. It has a pretty large Fairy weakness, but they also have like its mythical and restricted are both Steel types. So you're gonna expect to see at least one of those two in most in scenarios. So I think this is an okay team. Um, it doesn't have a Tailwind user. Solomon doesn't learn Tailwind Gen 8, so they're really relying on Trick Room or Max Airstreams.
Yeah, Galvantula is the fastest thing that can set like Electro Web or
Mm-hmm.
String Shot with the 108, which can work, but
Um,
it's not the greatest.
yeah, but indeed, I think you definitely have to respect a lot of the cores on this team. Um, I, personally, I think I would put this one at maybe. I think I would put this one like an 8. I think it can be really strong depending on how it's used, but I feel like people can maybe prep for it a little easier, in my opinion at least.
Yeah, but if Trick Room ever gets up, it has like 3 of the strongest Trick Room
Oh,
users drafted
absolutely.
by Metal, Hatterene, and Araquanid.
So
Like,
I
that is really scary if it
yeah,
happens.
I agree. So yeah, I'm gonna put an 8 for this one, I think. Next we have Pumpkin with the Galactic Porygons. This team's another very interesting one. The first thing I want to point out is it's a very frail team. There's not a lot of bulk on this team whatsoever. So that's just like first glance. That's what I noticed. Zero Aura, I personally believe it's going to be honestly really good. I think it might have been a little inflated as far as tier, like 18 points, but I do think it has a lot of potential usage with Dynamax. I think there's a lot of cool sets you can run on it. Ho is an okay restricted. Rillaboom, fantastic Pokemon. Will always be a good one. This was the draft that actually has 3 Gmax forms, which is kind of funny to see. So yeah, with Lapras, Rillaboom, and Gengar. Duraludon, it's a good Pokemon for Dynamax. I think it's better that he got the Duraludon like normal form, not rather than the Gmax. I think the Gmax is bad. Clefairy for redirection, which is phenomenal. Morpeko is actually kind of underrated for 6 points. It's not a bad Pokemon with Fake Out. It's got base 97, so it's about the same speed tiers like Togedemaru, just minus the 4 times weakness to ground. This team is a little more top heavy with Timber and Trapinch being 2 tier 1s on the team. Overall, I mean, I think this team has a lot of coverage. A lot of really strong Dynamax users, in my opinion. Is there anything you notice about the team?
Yeah, as you said, it's really frail, but it has probably the 2 best Pokemon to protect a frail team with the Gmask, Lapras, and Clefairy,
Yeah.
which kind of cover that. Without both of those, I would not like the team, as it just
Mm-hmm.
really dies to everything except for the Ho, I guess.
I think
But
aside
yeah, those
from
fit really well.
aside from that small frailness issue, depending on like what the situation is, I don't know if Ho still gets Tailwind in Gen 8 or not. If it doesn't, they don't have Tailwind, and then they don't have Gengar's their only form of Trick Room, but they do have Imprison, so they can prevent other Trick Room teams from setting up.
It does not get Tailwind.
Okay, so yeah, they're really relying on like I can't even really say like max airstreams. I mean, Rillaboom does learn like acrobatics,
Yeah, but it's pretty
yeah.
bad.
So yeah, they're really just relying on like.
I mean, Gengar
damage.
gets Icy Wind with 110 base speed, and
Yeah.
Sarah Aura probably Yeah, it gets Electroweb. Like,
Yeah.
it's not the worst, but it's also not great.
Yeah, I would say it's very mediocre speed control, but they do have a lot of damage. Like I said, very offensive team. I wouldn't quite say hyper offense just because they don't have the like guaranteed like speed advantage, but I do think this team could be very very strong depending on how it's built and used. Gengar is a really cool support. Mamoswine hits like a truck as well. And fun fact,
It's pretty fast.
Yeah.
The team is pretty fast in general, which is good.
Mamoswine, fun fact, has dual screens. Shout out to Pro Horse in season 1. I don't remember if it was the quarterfinals or semifinals, but he brought dual screen Mamoswine to one of those. So that's how
pretty
I
cool.
So this is honestly it's a cool team. Clefairy is going to be honestly I think the heart and soul. I think Clefairy is going to carry a lot of the team's matches, at least individual games. I would rate this one an 8.5 myself.
It looks really important.
Yeah.
And if you can imprison the Trick Room, you kind of need the After You and Clefairy to not just lose. Because with the Frailness, you can't just protect your way through Trick Room most of the time.
Yeah,
So
I agree with you
I
there.
am not a huge fan of the team.
Which is fair. I think the team just has so many good like damage sources. Especially from like Zero Aura, even outside of max, with Plasma Fist can pack a punch. Rillaboom hits. Lapras you can do Life Orb Lapras sets potentially. Duraludon can hit pretty hard, especially with Helping Hand. If you pair any of those with Clefairy and Helping Hand, I mean,
yeah,
I think this team's looking to shut out games fairly quick rather than stall them out.
Yeah, the Helping Hand really helps on Clefairy with that too.
So
that's true.
I think to make it fair, I think we can drop it down to an 8.
Yeah, 8.5. I'm fine with either.
Okay, I think we'll stick with
it. It seems fine.
Next we have Docpiss with the Phoenix Solgaleos. So this team's interesting. So it does have Kyogre paired with like Kartana Metagross for the slight fire resist with the rain. It does have Marshadow, of course. Whimsicott. It has Whimsicott and Thundurus for two possible like prankster users. It's Scrafty, Togepi for redirection, Turtonator for like a Trick Room Abuser, Carbink, which is an okay like bulky Meteor Beam user, or it can set Trick Room, and then Absol again, which is kind of awkward on this team again. My biggest issue that I initially see is the triple fairy types. I don't really know if Whimsicott's needed on this team.
Yeah, that's my one critique as well. I personally really don't like the Whimsicott. I would get rid of the Whimsicott for something else, and maybe get rid of the Absol and trade something up for a few points or something. But overall, I like the look of the team. Kyogre protecting the steel types. Marshadow is always great. Thundurus is such a versatile Pokemon.
Yeah,
I like how this looks. And even the Carbink Turtonator Trick Room mode. And Togepi, for just 7 points, just always fits.
Oh yeah.
Follow me or after you.
And Togepi is really bulky for a first stage evolution. So I mean, it's I think this team has a lot of potential. I just think the overlapping. I think Kartana and Metagross both on the same team is interesting, but they both have different move coverages. So depending on the matchup, you can bring one or the other. But yeah, having Kartana with like Whimsicott, I think is interesting. Because I think you can just, like you've done before, you have Thundurus with Electro Web or like Max Airstream if you really need the speed control.
Or Scary Face.
Or yeah, so I think Whimsicott, just as far as typing goes, for 15 points maybe could have been something else.
It's just so frail.
I also just think getting rid of that extra fairy weakness, it wouldn't be a bad thing, or fairy typing, I mean. But yeah, I don't really have many bad things to say. I think this team's pretty well rounded. I think it's Trick Room setter, like Carbink's it's kind of mediocre as far as a Trick Room setter goes.
I think it's really cool. You have Sturdy and can pair with a Mantle Herb or a Damage Reduce Berry. Also, that thing can KO Charizard with Meteor Beam.
Oh, absolutely.
I like Carbink. It's cool.
Yeah, for 3 points, I think it's worth it.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think this team has some decent...
I just realized Absol is probably just there because of Whimsicott beat up. That would make sense for the Absol.
And that is something I would like to see. I've seen many people draft like a beat up user with Absol, but I don't think they ever bring it. I really want to see someone use it.
Yeah, I don't want to see it because I want to get rid of that Whimsicott.
Right.
But yeah, otherwise I really like the team. It looks great.
Yeah,
Marshadow, Katana, Togepi, and Thundurus. I had all 4 on my last team. I think they're fantastic Pokemon.
Right. So I would honestly...
But yeah, as you said, it might make sense to only have Katana or Metagross.
Yeah, so I think this team's super strong, though. It's going to be hard to prep for. So, as far as ratings
and the speeds are great. 3 Pokemon above... Oh, no, wait. 4 Pokemon. I forgot that Marsha wasn't shown. 4 Pokemon above 100. Yeah. And still not the worst in Trick Room with Tortonator and Togepi.
Yeah, so I
That's
would
cool.
honestly...
It's a cool team.
I think I would rate this one a 9, honestly. Even with the Whimsicott on it. I think keeping the Whimsicott, they can still do well. I just think...
the Pokemon is usually never bad. I just personally not a huge fan. But yeah, it's one of the teams I like the most, probably. From a personal preference of how it looks.
Yeah, especially paired with the Kyogre. I mean, I think Whimsicott Kyogre is going to be a staple lead as well, just to get a bunch of water spouts off. Yeah, so I think a 9's a fair rating, in my opinion. Next up, we have Davey with the Hartlepool Hydreigons. This team's very interesting. So I think I see some kind of clashing going on. Because you have Genesect and Calyrex Ice, but then you have a Suncore next to them, which is kind of like the thing that you wouldn't necessarily want up next to those 2 Pokemon, in my opinion, at least. I think setting the Sun while you have your mythical and your restricted, it's very risky depending on how it's played out. Tapu Koko, though, it's a pretty good Pokemon on this team for support. They have Dusclops. Again, it's one of the most generic Trick Room setters, but it does the job well. Rhyperior is very scary, especially in Sun. It becomes a lot more bulkier, especially with Lightning Rod paired with Charizard. Shift Tree is really cool. You don't get to ever really see Shift Tree used very often on a Sun core, so I hope it does do well. Mawile and Machamp Machamp especially has potential. I think Mawile is an interesting. It's just it's another weird Pokemon with Sun, and then Thievul it's a really good generic like cheap Snarl support type Pokemon. But yeah, what were your opinions on like the Torkoal, like the Sun core with the Calyrex and Genesect?
I mean, Genesect dies to an Ember anyway from anything, so the
Right.
Sun probably doesn't do too much for it. But with Calyrex, yeah, that might not be the greatest. Just one thing more, while the typing is so good, it has Intimidate. It always looks so good, but the Pokemon is just somehow bad and doesn't do anything.
It just really
I'm
misses its Mega Evolution, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wish it was a little better. It would be a great
Mhm.
Pokemon. Just typing is amazing, but it doesn't do anything. But
Um.
yeah, apart from that, yeah, back to the Sun. Sorry for that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it kinda. I don't know. I
I
like the speed of the team at least.
Yeah. The speed's interesting as far as like. I mean, you have a few fast Pokemon. And then like including Shift Tree with Chlorophyll. But it seems a lot more like it's you're basically you're running Sun or you're running Dusclops, like it's or like Trick Room. So I think it is going to be kind of hard to prep for it, and the fact that you're gonna have to be able to like it has two modes and it can bring both modes to the same battle. Like you can lead
Yeah.
Sun with Trick Room in the back, for example.
And like even Calyrex can set up Trick Room, doesn't even need
Yeah,
to
yeah.
be Dusclops necessarily. Also, Torkoal, one of the slowest Trick Room sweepers in the
Oh yeah,
game, which is
absolutely.
great. Like it gets undersped by Stakataka, and that's
Hmm.
probably it off the top of my head.
Yeah,
It's
I
pretty
think you're
great.
right. Yeah, so
Yeah,
honestly,
and
I think
Vampiro,
this.
one of the other best Trick Room sweepers, just faster than the others. But with
Mhm.
Calyrex, Dusclops, Torkoal, you don't need to bring
Yeah,
Rhyperior and all this other
honestly,
stuff.
I think this team's really strong if played well. I think my biggest concern would just be that I don't think the Genesect's placed here real well. But aside from that, I mean, the rest of the team it has a really good utility. I mean, like you said, Icy Wind, Snarls, Electro Webs. Tapu Koko's phenomenal on this team, in my opinion.
Thievul always works for speed control or snarling
Yeah.
or whatever you need it for
Um,
because it's so fast. Also, Genesect, maybe just the team never maxes Genesect. Maybe just puts on a Specs or Life Orb and
right.
just does damage or U-turns out or something.
Yeah. So I don't
Just
know.
because it would die with the sun up and everything.
I
Could also see that.
personally I think I would rate this one an 8.5. I think this team's gonna be very hard to battle against. Because it does have counters to the water types for people that prep for the sun heavily. I mean, and like you said, Torkoal's insane. You can Dynamax it, and it's extremely bulky. You could do weakness policy sets. You can keep it unmaxed and just launch eruptions if you have
Or
trick.
just yawn every turn
Yeah, yeah, it
and
could be very
super bulky.
annoying.
Also, body breath is so
Oh
absurdly
yeah,
strong from Torkoal. It's pretty good.
yeah. So,
I haven't looked at the type chart yet, but it also looks really spread out the
oh
weaknesses.
yeah, for sure.
So that also looks good.
It's funny enough because like having a sun core, fire is one of its bigger weaknesses, which is kind of funny. But I think that's I think that's solely because of its restricted and its mythical picks. Obviously with the sun core, you're gonna have a water weakness and a ground weakness, but you do have
I mean, that's what the sun is for. Just
yeah,
get rid of the water weakness somewhat.
yeah. So no, overall good team. I think I would rate this one an 8.5. Not quite as high as the others, but I definitely think this team can be very threatening.
I
Um,
always want to see Shifty do something cool in VGC, but it's just not strong
Same.
enough. So
I
I
really
hope
hope.
it pulls something cool off here.
Mhm.
It even gets fake out, right? Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
It's kind of a cool Pokemon. Also, Worry Seed if you need to get rid of abilities or something.
Yeah. No. Overall, I think it. I think it's an interesting pick, especially for 7 points. I mean, trying to find a low tier chlorophyll user to benefit off of it's kind of tough. So I think Shiftry is an okay pick for this like spot.
Just one quick question. I assume Gmax Machamp is cheaper than regular Machamp,
Yeah, yeah. So
or
he was actually DMing me about this, and I believe it's just a point cheaper,
okay,
solely
okay.
solely because it loses access to Max Knuckle, which on a fighting
Yeah, that's
type,
why I'm asking. If
yeah,
it was the same point, I would definitely prefer the normal one. That's why I wanted to make sure it's
yeah.
cheaper.
But yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Alrighty, so moving on to Shiny Hunter Mono with the Branson Boos. Um, Again, this kind of reminds me of another team from Platinum for some reason. I could just be confusing it, but um, Yeah, Solgaleo and Cosmoem on the same team is kind of funny to look at. And then you have Moltres with Togekiss, Colossal Gmax Cobalion. Um, Colossal is an interesting Pokemon to say the least in draft. I think a lot of people dislike it, but there's been a select few people that it can pull it off and do pretty well with it. Like we have the Savali with this team. Honestly, like there's so many. I think there's a lot of Pokemon that can really do a lot of different things here. Between like, I mean, they have Beat Up for with Sneasel Cobalion. They have Surf with Sneasel and Colossal. They have Savali that could do really anything. Corviknight can be bulky stall, or it can be like a some type of tailwind setter. Torcat's a phenomenal Pokemon as well. Potentially could even proc Steam Engine with the Fire type move potentially. Togekiss for redirection. I think honestly this team's. I think the biggest issue I see, and it's not really even an issue, but it's just their ground weakness. But that's kind of leveled out with their flying types.
Yeah. Also,
Um,
Togekiss Follow Me, it just gets rid of the ground weakness for
yeah.
everything, basically,
Um,
which is great. Also, the Platinum team, there was one that had Togekiss Cobalion. Maybe that's what you remembered.
that might be what it is. But yeah, this team, aside from that, it's got a between all the steel types, it's got 3 steel types and an ice type. It's got a massive fire weakness,
Mhm.
and then electric as well. They don't really have anything to. They don't have a ground type, so they don't have an electric immunity whatsoever. So that could be an issue. Um, but no, I mean it has very strong Pokemon on the team. They don't really have like a Trick Room mode, but they do have ways to stop Trick Room. They have some sort of speed control. I mean, Colossal just outspeeds most things. Very few
Yeah.
things will outspeed it once Steam Engine is procced.
Moltres has a really nice max airstream, and you could even
Hmm.
use it with weakness policy next to Sneasel or something.
Yeah, you get
Always an option.
ice shard or something. Yeah, for sure. And you
Yeah.
can't stop it with inner focus, which is the benefit of using Sneasel over Weavile, because Weavile doesn't get inner focus anymore, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it does not.
So yeah,
It
it's pretty
gets
cool.
pickpocket pressure and something else.
And then having the Torcat there for Intimidate to support some of your team. It's yeah. Overall, I mean, this team has a lot of. This is another one that it's full of synergy. There's a lot of 2-mon cores that you can pair together. So I think prepping for this will also be kind of difficult. But I mean, are there any like flaws or like things you notice that
I'm always a bit sad when I see a Cosmoem pick instead of a cool Mythical, because that's basically one of your only chances you get to use a Mythical in a
Mhm.
VGC type form. But the team looks solid. I don't like Colossal because it's so easy to prep for,
Mhm.
but at the same time, there's also beat up you need to prep for, and also just the Moltres lead that tries to sweep you and whatever, so it's
Yeah,
fine.
I think Colossal is just like it's such a staple Pokemon in like VGC like laddering that like it can be really strong if given the chance. And so like again, it's kind of like a Moongeist or Dusclaw. Like it's one of those things that you have to respect. If you don't respect it, it's gonna catch you off guard. But
Yeah.
I think as far as rating
Like,
it,
I think the prep might be fine, but like deciding the leads in game might be hard, depending on what mono leads or something
yeah,
could just turn the game.
I'm not sure as far as rating this one goes. I think this team has potential for sure. Um, it has a lot of the things you would want on a solid draft team. I think it's so even with just Meowstic and Thunderwave, like Prancer Thunderwave for speed control,
Yeah.
that's very viable.
Al- Also, quite a few bulky mons. You can't just try to play the long game and parting shot around with Torracat and Silvally to get in your
Hmm.
bulky Togekiss, Solgaleo,
Oh
Moltres, or
yeah,
whatever.
100%.
Like, it could try that to surprise your opponent. Or Corviknight
Hmm.
also, super bulky, can roost. Also an
Oh, and you can
option.
also
I don't see
do
it happening a lot, but it's a possibility.
yeah. You could also do. I think Meowstic learns Rain Dance as well. So like with the 3 steel types, you could potentially Rain Dance next to one of them. If like fire types are an issue for a matchup. So yeah, I don't know. I think this team has a lot of cool potential.
Yeah, it does get Reynolds, by the way.
So
It does.
okay.
That's definitely a good option.
So as far as ranking this one, I think. Hmm, would you say would you say an 8 or would you go higher?
No, I don't think I would go higher personally. But maybe it's just because I wouldn't enjoy playing these teams, so it's hard for me to imagine
I
how they would play out.
yeah.
Like it's just really not my style, so it's really hard to
I'm
grasp
almost
what they could do with it.
I'm almost kind of leaning towards like a 7.5. Like I think this team is good, but it really comes down to how it's played. I think a lot of it can be exploited. Like you said, I think like with Colossal, if it's prepped against correctly, Caballing can be prepped for. But what I think, I don't know. I think I'll stick with 8. I think Sneasel's such a consistent like support Pokemon for some of the sweepers on this team that
Yeah,
I,
like it fits really well because it supports a lot of different ones. Most of the time when you see a Sneasel drafted, it's just to beat up one mon or something.
yeah.
But here, just doing a lot of things is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Just one 8-pointer supporting so many
Yeah.
different
So
things.
I think we'll do 8 for this one. So next up we have Underused Apple with the Queen City Quagsires. Right off the bat, I do see some strong things here, but yeah, we have Calyrex Shadow, um, super scary Pokemon, and we do have it paired with Indeedee male, so it still will get terrain and expanding force, and Indeedee male is a little more offensive than female as well, so definitely expect to see expanding force spam with this. Um, they have Deontay, Landorus Therians, always going to be a good intimidate or potential Dynamax sweeper. Blastoise again, paired with the terrain. Gastrodon, which is an interesting pick on the same team. Kanto Moltres is actually a very interesting Pokemon. It's pretty bulky. Base 90 HP and base 90 and then 85 defense and special defense. Especially with like a Charty Berry. If you Dynamax, it could probably live some rock hits. And it does get access to like Scorching Sands and stuff to combat that a bit. If you run maybe a weakness policy set. Lipard's a phenomenal support Pokemon in draft, along with Raichu as well. They have Raichu and the Lipard, which is pretty cool. A couple different options there. And then Growlithe and Impidimp is tier 1. So this team's a little more top heavy. But the thing I'm not really seeing is like a consistent. I think the same issue happened in Platinum as well with Deontay, is they don't have like a consistent Trick Room like setter. Because in most cases, you're running Trick Room with Imprison on Indeedee Mail. You're not really setting Trick Room, but I guess you could.
Also, like the best one to really use the Trick Room is the Deontay with, I think it's base 50, so it's not really that slow. I mean,
Yeah.
Gastrodon could work, but I'm not a huge fan of
Mm-hmm.
trying to set it up to sweep.
I
It could
think
work though.
I think Gastrodon's role here is mostly just like a switch in water immunity for Landorus and Moltres,
Yeah.
which isn't bad. You also have Lightning Rod to pair with the Moltres, so the Moltres really honestly is kind of covered here aside from rock weaknesses. But having Blastoise, Landorus, and Gastrodon all kind of there to check rock types as well. I mean, I think Moltres kind of thrives on this team. Especially with having Raichu for Charm as well to weaken the rock types, which most of them are physical except for Meteor Beam users. Yeah, this seems kind of cool. I'm not too sure.
Also, just protecting the Gmax Blastoise to get off your Cannonade with Raichu, also great.
No, yeah, for sure. As far as weaknesses go, this team it's a really well-rounded draft. It's only got 2 like known like big weaknesses, and that's going to be water, which they have an immunity for, and then they have a rock weakness, which we kind of already pointed out. So honestly, I actually really like this team a lot personally.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Aside,
I just wish one of the one-pointers did something more, because Growlithe really just intimidates and dies and nothing else.
yeah,
Impidimp unfortunately does learn Light Screen and Reflect, which makes it useless in my opinion,
Mhm.
because the only thing it really does is like trick an eject button or whatever, but
yeah,
it has no bulk, so
yeah, and even outside of Dynamax, Moltres can be kind of cool too. I think it's stuff like Burning Jealousy,
yeah.
obviously like
It
Will-O-Wisp.
gets Will-O-Wisp, I assume.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's at, I always forget that it's on the right, yeah.
I think the only
Good.
thing I would do with this team is honestly, I think there's other like lower tier mythicals, if not the same tier, that could have offered more type like coverage rather than Deontay and maybe fit the team a little better. But yeah, other than that, I mean the team's okay. I'm definitely a fan of some of the cores and potential things that underused Apple can do with this team.
I mean, Deontay can do a lot of damage, but it's just too slow,
Yeah,
I think.
in Diamond Storm, it's such a strong move. But just the accuracy, I don't think it's 100. I think it's 90 or 95 accuracy. And it hurts when it misses.
Also, if it gets a meteor beam off and then maxes, it can probably destroy everything at once.
Right. So yeah, it's another strong team. I think it's another one that kind of comes down to how it's played and positioned. I think if they utilize their immunities really well, then they can see some success. I think.
Or maybe just set up a cannonade, and then you have an Intimidator, Gastrodon, and Moltres who can take a lot of hits if set up correctly.
Right.
Maybe just switching around, getting opponent's ship down. Also something that could work. And then clean up with Calyrex when everything's weakened or
Oh
something.
yeah. Just bring it in the back for
Like,
sure.
yeah, just a switch heavy style could work here too.
So I don't know. What would you rate this team?
I don't know. I really can't rate those. It's so hard.
I think I would do. I actually kind of like this one. I think I think I would almost do a 9 on this one.
Oh, okay, that sounds like a lot, but if you think so.
But
like I said, I really have problems writing the teams personally.
I personally I think this team, if used right, can do so much damage and mitigate opposing damage. But I mean, 8.5 was my initial thought process, but yeah, I just the more
both work. Just you decide whatever you want. Honestly.
But speed tiers, I mean. Oh, you can go ahead.
Oh no, never mind.
I think I'll do 8.5.
Yeah.
I think that's okay.
Also, I think Calyrex is like the third or fourth fast mon right now.
So,
what is it? Regieleki, Ninjask, and Pheromosa. I think the only ones that are faster. It's really good to have access to something like that.
I think the only thing I think if like the pushing point that would bring it to a 9 is I think if it had like a more consistent Trick Room setter. Other than like Deontay. Like I think using your mythical slot for things like that.
I mean Deontay is the only one that really abuses it, so I'm fine with it setting it, I think.
So I don't know. I think 8.5 is fair.
Yeah, it's fair.
So next up we have Ted for Prez with the Pummeling Lickilickys. So this initially, I mean, you said the first 4 Pokemon seem extremely strong on this team. Xerneas with Mew, that kind of scares me because so as far as the rulings in this league go, we did not restrict Mew from like Dynamaxing. I don't think.
No.
If it transforms into a restricted. So you could technically like Geomancy and then transform into your own Xerneas, which is pretty crazy. Or even Mew with Celesteela, like having double Celesteelas.
That's disgusting.
Oh, that's extremely scary. I just now noticed this as well. So yeah, Mew actually fits this team extremely well. It's very intimidating to look at. And then you have Arcanine with Intimidate as well. Super good draft Pokemon in my opinion. It's kind of like a counterfeit Incineroar essentially, but it's a lot faster actually. Pretty bulky as well. Gudra, it's a good dragon type sweeper potentially. Persian's not a bad support with like your typical Snarls and Icy Winds. I think its ability, Fur Coat, can be interesting as well. It doubles its defense stat. Palossand's very annoying to deal with, in my opinion. Rotom Fan's not bad typing. Obviously, its ability is a wasted slot. But Rotoms are always kind of... Honestly, I think Rotom's okay in draft, depending on how you use it. It doesn't always have to be offensive, but it's kind of like a Thundurus playstyle, as far as like you can Dynamax it and go for like max Airstreams if need be. It's just not as quick. Morgrem, I think is really good in draft, especially for how low it is 6 points. Having the dual screen options with Fake Out, and then like other potential like weird trick sets or anything like that, it's pretty good. And then Tangle Up for redirection, and Licky of course you had to get the mascot, which I know from what I understand, especially from like the app submissions, Tetra Prez is very comfortable using Licky, so I expect to see it pretty often.
It's a strong one in my opinion.
Especially for 5 points. I think it might be a little underrated for the tier list. But yeah, I think Mew. I personally think Mew is the heart and soul of this team. I think it could be used in so many ways.
I'm really sad to not see Mew drafted in the other divisions.
Yeah,
Wait, I don't know if it was drafted by a Diamond, to be honest. But yeah, it's just great. It does everything. Like, it literally ends every TMNT. It's so good.
And then Synchronize it's a really weird ability, but there's times where like you can use it to your advantage like drastically. So I think the only thing that this team's lacking would be like maybe not even lacking, because you could just do, I was gonna say Rain or something to pair with like the Celesteela, or who knows, but I mean just having screens in general with like Morgrim and Celesteela is phenomenal.
And Mew also gets Rain Dance if you really need the rain.
Does Mew still learn Tailwind and Trick Room?
Trick Room, yes, that exists as a TM in this, but Tailwind, no.
Okay, so as far as speed control goes, I mean that's interesting, but they do have Icy Wind users and Electro Web and whatnot, so I think they'll make it manage with.
Celesteela is just one of the strongest draft ones, in my opinion. It survives everything, it kills everything, it just can do whatever it wants. Persian Lola is such a great support one. It has amazing speed. It's the fastest money on the team. It gets Quash, I assume. It should get it. Gets Fake Out.
I don't know that.
Check.
I don't know if it gets.
Yeah, it does. It gets Quash. Okay. It does.
Yeah, I mean that sounds pretty good too.
It can beat up the Arcanine, the Mew as well. Two different beat up users for the Arcanine that both outspeed it.
Yeah, I think the more I look at this too, Celesteela just plays such a big role in this team's bigger weaknesses. Like this team has a massive ice and poison weakness, which Celesteela is immune to poison, and then just kind of walls ice types in general. Same thing I guess with rock types. Well, the only other big rock and fairy, all four of this team's like more pronounced weaknesses Celesteela kind of takes care of. So yeah, this team's the first half, I think the top half of this team really carries, especially like the Mew, Xerneas, Celesteela, Arcanine, and then I guess
I think Gudra and Persian are also fantastic Pokemon. But I haven't used them myself. So
and then Tangela, like I said, you can't disrespect the Rage Powder potential redirection as well. So this team's actually very strong. They do have two.
I personally don't like the Rotom fan, but having Electric type is always important. Or you can also just Nasty Blood and Sweep if opponent concentrates on other stuff.
And I was getting ready to state too, they do have 2 points remaining too. So like I'm not sure what Electric types are around in like tier 10 or tier 11. So that could potentially be upgraded, but especially since they have Celesteela as a flying type, they don't really need the additional flying type. But yeah, so that option is there. Super strong team again. I think this is. Would you say this one's like an 8.5 or 9?
I like that it doesn't have a single 1-pointer or anything that will never come. Like Morgrim is good, Tangela will probably come sometimes. I like the team. It looks great. I don't know if I would give it 9, but I wouldn't at least be opposed to it. It looks pretty strong.
I think this is just another 8.5. I really do, because I think, just like we said with the Platinum Power Ranking video, this entire division, I think, has really solid drafts. This entire season has been super stacked teams, and I think that has to contribute with the fact that we have less players in the season.
Yeah, that's kind of cool to see.
Season 1 and season...
Also...
Oh, you can go ahead.
Oh, I just want to say the bad teams will come later, so don't worry about it.
Oh yes, the one after this.
Togedemaru is still available at 11 points.
Oh, and that's not bad.
And Raichu Lola at 10. But yeah, there would be more expensive electric types if.
I do think Togedemaru could be actually really cool on this team with the
at least protect Celesteela. That's kind of cool.
And it's not bad, but it also gives you another form of speed control. You could do like Scarf Nuzzles or something like that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's pretty fast too.
Yeah,
but
base 98, I believe. But
90, something like that. It just looks kind of awkward. 115, 100, 99, 95, 86. If then that one is also in between there.
Yeah, so I think we're gonna give this one an 8.5. But yeah, like I was saying, season 1 and 2, we had 16 teams in like a season per division. And so I think that they left a lot of space for other Pokemon to kind of get sniped, and overall, just not everyone had super strong drafts. But with this, only 12 people in Platinum and Pearl. Yeah, there's just so much space for every team to draft really well. So it's gonna be hard to really rate anyone super low.
I mean, we removed also that you can draft the regular and the G-Max form.
Yeah.
But that just removes a tiny bit of Pokemon. 4 entire coaches,
And,
that's a lot of Pokemon.
And G-Max forms aren't required, so you're not always going to be stuck with like a low
Yeah.
tier G-Max. But yeah, moving
Even
on.
though most teams you saw have like even 1 or 2 sometimes.
Yeah, moving on to the spice of PearlDivision now. We have Sinriz with the South Carolina Big Gulps, which he will be rebranding to this team. Currently, he's the Greenville Good Boys, just for anyone to not get confused. But the goal here was to do mono poison. The only issue is there's no poison mythical, so he drafted Celebi, which I think the strategy behind that is obviously poison's very weak to ground types. So having Celebi there as the grass or psychic type, I mean, it just kind of covers some of the other flaws. So you could argue that it's cheating a little bit. It's giving the mono poison a little bit of advantage there, but nonetheless, I think it's a really funny draft. If you look at like Eternatus, it's such a strong restricted in a non-Dynamax format for him. It has a bunch of coverage. It's very bulky. It's very fast. And the thing you're going to notice with mono poison is this entire team's like special like attack oriented. Like he doesn't really have strong sweeping physical attackers. Toxicroak and Quillfish have like okay physical attack stats. Same with Crobat, but they're not going to ever probably Dynamax, I would assume. You're basically always going to want to click Max Ooze and buff the rest of your team's special attack stats. And then with like Venusaur, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, like Celebi, Crobat maybe has Sunny Day. I know there's a couple Pokemon in his team that have Sunny Day, so he can set the sun. If not, Naganadel actually I believe has fire access. I think Flamethrower or Fire Blast, so he can Dynamax Naganadel since it already outspeeds the Venusaur. Go for Max Flare, and then set the sun for the Venusaur. And then Weezing, it basically counters any team that's very ability oriented. So he could definitely use that to his advantage, especially pairing with like Eternatus, because pressure doesn't really matter in most cases. What are your opinions on mono poison?
I hate poison as a monotype just because of the weak max move. It's really nice that everything is special attack oriented, but that means it's also easier to prep for with light screens and stuff. And I just looked it up. Crobat and Celebi both get Sunny Day. That's correct.
Yeah.
Also, one thing I don't like that it's 3 mons with the exact same typing with the Eternatus, Dragalchi, and Naganadel.
To be fair though, I mean, especially in the higher tiers, there's not too many. Like most poison types are tiered very low. And so, like, to make the most of it, I mean, the only other one I maybe could have gotten would have been like Gengar, or like Drapion, or I can't think of any more off the top of my head. But
yeah, I kind of would like to see Gengar instead of one of those probably.
Which I know he was considering Gengar, but Haunter,
someone has started it, right?
Yeah, but I don't know if someone took it. It might still be there, but I know Haunter, I think what he ended up figuring out is like, if he was mainly just using Gengar for like more support stuff, so like Trick Room with Imprison, or like Will-O-Wisp or Destiny Ball, anything like that, Haunter can do the same thing, and it only costs 3 points rather than like 12 or 13 points.
True.
And you can just
I mean, I like the Haunter. It's just the speed from Gengar that I like. But
Right.
like, if he has Crobat, Naganadel, Eternatus, it's fine. So if Gengar, it would be instead of Naganadel, in my opinion, to have another one that's fast. But yeah, if he's set on Naganadel and Crobat and Eternatus, then Haunter makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Doesn't need another that fast Pokemon.
And then, which also kind of makes sense with the 3 dragons, is they all have such wide range move coverage that it gives them more advantages. Like for a mono poison type team, having as much move coverage as possible is probably ideal, especially on his like sweepers. And so like Dragalge is his Trick Room sweeper, and then Naganadel's probably gonna be his fastest Dynamax like candidate. Slowbro was the one you mentioned prior. Pretty good.
Yeah,
for
that's
Trick
the
Room.
one.
Yeah. And then Toxicroak's honestly a pretty good fake out user. What, does it get fake out? I don't know, but it's good.
Yeah, it should. Yeah. Wait. Pretty sure it does.
I assumed it did, but having that fighting type's nice. It's not too bad. It helps deal with some of the threats that a lot of other poison types can't deal with. I think one of the
I think it's a pretty good Pokemon.
I think it's one of the more underrated Pokemon on.
Yeah, it does get Fake Out.
Okay, I figured as much. One of the most
Yeah.
underrated Pokemon for poison types would probably be Quillfish in my opinion. For especially for 5 points, he's not gonna really abuse Swift Swim, I don't think. But having an Intimidate user, and Quillfish has an absurd move pool that I wasn't aware of. I mean, it has a base 85 speed set, which isn't awful, but especially if you have like max airstream set up with something, or like there's other ways to raise the speed, but it has Icy Wind, Haze, it has taunt, it has some really cool like utility moves, and base 95 attacks, not too bad for like a physical water type. It's an okay Pokemon for tier 5. Overall, I mean, obviously, like the team has clear weaknesses with like Psychic and Ground, but and also Poison being such a like resisted typing, like it resists a lot of really popular typings in the game. Especially having 3 dragons, he now has 3 resists to fire, water, electric, grass. Grass is like unusable against this team. Same thing with fighting types essentially. So yeah, I don't know how to judge this one or the next team coming up, just because they are monotypes.
Also a huge fan of Crow, but it's one of the best ways to get up Tailwind.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the most consistent just because of interfocus. You basically have to kill it, but with Sash, that means you have to double into it. So like
most of the team is also really fast, so it's basically just if he wants to like try to sleep with Dragalchi or something, which is really strong.
Yeah.
With adaptability. If he doesn't want to get up to him or something.
So like the team's very very strong for a mono poison draft. I was very surprised with the outcome. But as far as rating this team and the next, I'm not gonna give them like full ratings just because it's not quite fair. It's also like there's obviously clear issues, like I said. So I think we're gonna give this one a 5 just because of the monotyping. But yeah, I do hope to see honestly some success. I think it'd be hilarious to see monotype teams do well in a standard draft format league. It also makes the division a little more interesting because most people aren't used to prepping against monotype teams. So most people will only have 1, 2, maybe 3 answers to like one specific typing. So it's going to be interesting to see what people decide to do with the rest of their team slots against like a mono poison team, for example. So yeah, coming up next you have myself. This is my glorious, beautiful mono fire team. I'm gonna go 8-0 and win the championship with this. I would like to hear any comments you have.
There's not too much to say about it. It actually looks pretty decent for a fire team. There's just like 2 things I'm missing. First, I definitely would have liked to see Colossal on the team just for Tar Shot, because it makes every of your armors stronger. Or instead of that, a Carkol just to have a Meteor Beam user, because how could you draft a team without a Meteor Beam, which is really disappointing.
And I considered it. I almost didn't. I don't know what tier the Carkol was. I never looked. I think it's like 3, maybe 4. But
I can't remember. I think 3.
I considered not getting Vulpix and getting that instead, just so I had that rock type coverage as well. But I don't know. I can't stand that evolution line. I'm not a fan of it.
Carkol is so cool.
But yeah, I 100% think Volcanion's gonna be my rock, as you will. It's gonna kind of carry me here with the water immunity. But as far as like ground immunities go, I do have like a flying type. I do have Rotom with the Levitate. I have Marowak with Lightning Rod for like the Volcanion or potentially Fletchinder, but it doesn't really matter for that. So like I do have some cool little niche interactions. Cinderace is gonna be like, it's my honorary fire type. It's probably very rarely of the time gonna be a fire type. So like hint, giving away some spice there. Reshiram is basically there just to have a neutral resist to water. I wanted Turtonator as like my Trick Room sweeper, but that got sniped unfortunately. Blaziken gives me some fighting coverage and speed boost. It's okay. It can also do some fun little tech things. And I do actually have redirection on a mono fire team, which is I'm blessed because not every mono type team could benefit from redirection. So And then I do have
Also
Tailwind.
really like how the Will-O-Wisp line looks in moves to watch for.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
every
yeah,
single
yeah.
mod except the is listed there. Looks
Absolutely,
so
dude.
funny.
So yeah, physical attackers against me are going to be very interesting. I don't expect to face a lot of them. If I do, then I have my answer. Um, yeah, so I'm very happy. I'm super excited to use this. I'm gonna have a blast. This entire season for me is just to have some more fun. I've been struggling with enjoying my time in draft leagues recently, so I just want to see how well I could do with this. So yeah,
I think I believe I got you to draft Incineroar, which is my
yes,
personal achievement
I
for the season,
really, I
probably.
really didn't want to. I hate Incineroar. It's disgusting. It's ugly. Can't stand it. But I needed a dark type. You convinced me of it, and plus the Arcanine. My original plan was to get Arcanine, and it got sniped early on. So yeah, but same as Cineroz, I'm just gonna give myself a 5 just because it's monotype. But I am really proud of how this turned out.
I kind of like that you got the lamp, but I completely missed that when looking over all the low tier fire types. It fits the team well just to have the
Oh
Trick
yeah,
Room
for
or
sure. Yeah, and
Prism.
it's
Pretty nice.
it's a really good bulky low tier Pokemon in my opinion. So I'm
And that
excited to.
even everything except for one Pokemon is water weak, but with the Sun from Vulpix or just a Max Flare, you
Mhm.
kinda get rid of it, which is cool.
Yeah, so I'm hoping I can make it work. Very
Oh, well,
excited.
I missed Reshiram, which is also not water weak, but yeah.
But to finish this out with a real team here, All Star Caliber with the I Got Your Nosepass. Beautiful name. I can't wait to see a logo for it someday. But so they got the Regigigas Wheezing Core, which is again with the Tapu Fini as well. So I actually think that's mirrored from Odie's team in Platinum. All three of those Pokemon together. So again, it's super strong. You can lead Regigigas with Fini and set the Misty Terrain and then switch into the Wheezing turn 1. So that way you can't be Will-O-Wisp. Groudon pairs really, really well with the Tapu Fini. If I'm not mistaken, this is All-Star's first draft, and he's getting some assistance from some other people. But yeah, overall, for a first draft, this is really strong. You have Orbital Gmax, so you can set like the gravity for Groudon for the Precipice Blades. I think the only thing I'm not too keen on here is the team does have a lot of fire weaknesses, but it also has ways to counter them. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. I just don't like the Dedenne. I don't like the Dedenne as a Pokemon. Do you have any thoughts on
I
this
think
team?
there weren't a lot of electro types left in the end.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest problem with like what 3 points. Yeah.
Well, I think not only that, but I think it's just with how little points, because this team is like it does start off very top heavy, and so I think they kind of had to conserve some of their points, and most of the the decent electro types are probably like tier 9 or higher.
Yeah.
Unless he wanted
Like that load here, maybe Pichu or something would be available,
Pichu,
but
or maybe
it only protects Tapu Fini here, so I like the Dedenne more, I think. But it also doesn't get fake out, right? Yeah.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't really know what Dedenne does, to be honest.
Nuzzle, that's probably it.
Yeah. What's its base speed? I don't know anything. Base 101's not bad. This team
is
very
fast.
That's
actually good.
Yeah, this
Hold on, that's actually good.
This team's actually extremely fast. Almost this entire team is base 85 or higher, except for 2 Pokemon, which the Weezing doesn't even matter because most of the time you're just clicking like Protect or Will-O-Wisp.
Endeavor.
Some kind of support move with it, anyways. So really, the Centiskorch is really the only Pokemon that's kind of out of place in my opinion. Since I don't know if Hawlucha still does learn Tailwind or not. I want to say
I don't think so. I actually don't know.
I want to say it doesn't. So I do think that Orbeetle and Sensascorch are kind of awkward on this team, just because there's gonna be he's gonna have a hard time like using them before they die, I think. But honestly,
yeah, Hawlucha, by the way, doesn't learn Tailwind.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Yeah, I didn't like the Dedenne until I realized how fast it is. It's 101
it's
base
not bad. Just click Nuzzle. Just don't run any other moves. Just run Nuzzle. It's basically its job. But Jirachi, I'm very excited to see on this team as well. Especially with Dynamax. I don't know. I actually really like this team. I think it's a really well-rounded draft. It's got very few weaknesses. And the ones they do have, like Ice, they have plenty of coverage for Ice types. They do have a big Ghost weakness, but they at least do have the one immunity to it. But Dragapult outspeeds all the other Ghost types except for Calyrex Shadow. So I think the ghost weakness should be fine.
Yeah, team looks really cool. I just like Groud and Feeny. It's kind of weird to see Leafeon as the only
Yeah,
Sun user,
yeah,
but it's a pretty strong Pokemon, to be
yeah.
honest.
I definitely think. I think that's another outcome of like they didn't have enough points to spend on like a good. I think they
Yeah,
committed
but
too
like
heavily.
I said, Leafeon is fine.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
can be good.
It does get a good move set. I mean, it gets like access to Max Quake, Max Steel Spike,
Yeah,
Max
you just
Florida Beat.
need to max it if you want to go for ground moves and
Yeah,
stuff.
for sure. I think to be fair, I think I'm gonna rate this one an 8. I think it has very strong components, but I think it's a little easier to prep for. I think the strategies here are very obvious in my opinion.
Also, it needs to prevent Trick Room, otherwise it can get problematic. It has
Yeah.
the Jirachi with Imprison.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if does Phoenix still get Taunt?
I don't know if it still does, but I know the Weezing gets taunt, which is usually what the
Yeah.
4th move slot is on that. But Hawlucha, I want to see Unburden. Oh, so I did skip over that. He can run Unburden Hawlucha with the Misty Seed, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So that'd be a niche little thing you could do. So I think this would still be an 8 in my opinion.
I think Centis of Screamage is also Chantiscotch G-Max is also a great Pokemon and does a lot of damage in the sun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know it can hit very hard.
I like the Beetle until they drafted Centiscotch. I kind of don't like doubling up on Bug, kinda.
No, I agree with you there. That's what I'm saying. It does look a little off. I would definitely choose one or the other. And in this case,
Yeah.
I almost think I would rather have the Orbeetle, just because I think Precipice Blades, if you did like a choice band set and gravity got up, it can be extremely strong. I don't think I agreed on when they drafted the Orbeetle. I believe they drafted it like 3rd round.
Yeah, third round. I personally like the Centiscotch more because they didn't have a fire type, and it's also nice to have something that does a lot of damage in sun.
Yeah.
But yeah, just for the Precipice Blades.
But
Can make sense to have the gravity up, yeah.
No, super good team though. I definitely wish him luck individually since this is his first draft league. I'm sure there's a couple others, but I'm not 100% on that.
Yeah, I think it could get way better with like a single trade. I don't know what exactly. Maybe really just get rid of one of the bugs or something. But the team is great. Dragapult is so versatile and strong.
Yeah, I think
it just can carry.
The only downside I'm really seeing with this team is, like you said, the matchup against Trick Room and then just speed control in general. They don't have Tailwind. They don't have they have a couple Icy Wind users, but you're really not going to run Icy Wind on the Pokemon that do have it. They don't.
Feeny, it's fine on Feeny.
It's okay.
Like just as full support, like Nature's Madness, Haze, Icy Wind, something like that. With leftovers.
They do have like Electroweb to Dene. They don't have any Snarl, which is interesting. Which they don't have Fake Out. So like there's some things that are missing. So I don't know. I still think it's like power wise, you just have to respect some of the higher tier Pokemon. I would say 8.
Yeah.
But
like you need to prep for Regigigas or something Dragapult.
I almost I almost want to go 7.5 just because of like I said, once their opponent does get like Trick Room or like I just think this team is very easy to prep for in my opinion, just because of like I said the obvious strategies there are. But that could just be me. I don't know. But the speed tiers is a very fast team. I don't know. I'm very torn on like a 7.5 or an 8.
Yeah, also of course the Glorious Leafeon, which isn't reflected in the speed tiers, but it's already on 95. So yeah.
So
like even if opponent gets up Tailwind, you can outspeed some of them once probably with your stuff.
Yeah, I think we'll keep 8 for now. But
yeah, it seems fair.
With that being said, very very equal power rankings right here. I mean, we didn't really drop below 8 except for the monotype teams, which is understandable. So yeah, I would say this is a tie between Arc and Mariah for top spots.
Yeah,
here.
both teams are fantastic.
I really can't say either one of them is better in my opinion. They both do certain things slightly better. And I'm looking forward to their week 1 matchup because they actually play each other. So this should be pretty exciting to see the results of. So congrats to you two.
That's really hype week 1.
Yeah.
And don't also the monotype teams battle against each other? Like 2 of the coolest matchups in the first week.
Yeah, so I do battle Sinraz week 1, and this is gonna be probably the most fun I've ever had in a Wi-Fi match. So yeah, no, but I do wish everyone this season luck. I hope you enjoy your time here, especially for the new players. I hope you have a good first experience with draft. Yeah, so thank you guys for watching.